Okay, people, here's the deal. I really care about the Mission Bible Training Center overseers, okay? And this is a book of mine that ain't written yet. So I'm giving you people a preview. See what it says here? There's a calmness in people that have gratitude. And I'm very gratitude kind of thankful. Okay, so here's the game. This is the book. This is the preview of the book. The red letters in the book of Acts. You know how, like, you open up a Bible, you got red letters, the words of Jesus. Well, I got a little surprise for you. Jesus, through the Holy Spirit, is talking all through the Bible, okay? And if you figure out how the people after Jesus went away have been hearing from God, then you can understand how he's talking to you. It's kind of a good formula. Okay, so we're working on the red letters in the book of Acts. First of all, see this here Bible? There is a little red stripe right there. And around Family Honesty Camp, we declare that the Bible is 3 parts. Number 1, predictions and preparations for a supernatural visitor to the whole wonderful human family. Number 2, this red part right there, that is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That is the life and teachings of the supernatural visitor that came to help the crazy human family. And then after that, which is Acts to Revelations, the third part of the Bible is the first peoples to get the power of the supernatural visitor. So the Bible is 3 parts: predictions and preparations for a supernatural visitor. Part 2, the life and teachings of the supernatural visitor, with the letters in red and all that were the words Jesus spoke. But then the last part is the first peoples to get the power of the supernatural visitor. That's a very important thing. When you're reading in the Tanakh, in the Hebrew scriptures, which they call also the Old Testament, when you're reading in the pre-Messianic writings of the Hebrews, there's different stuff going on. And there's different principles happening. When Yeshua is walking on the earth in person, there's also different things going on than are going on now. Now, we're actually living in this era, the era where ordinary human beings are getting the guidance and the power right from the supernatural visitor. And you have to discern this. Remember, the supernatural visitor said, it's better that I go away, because if I go away, I will put the Spirit over the whole world. We are in the Holy Spirit age. This is the pre-Messiah age of God's people. Then there's the Messiah is here in person age of the people that love God. And then the last part is the first peoples to receive the supernatural powers of the visitor. This is a really important script principle to think of. So he says, it's better that I go away. But when he's here, if you read in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you learn that he put his power on 12 and they went out by themselves without him, with his power. They're like, oh my gosh, all this supernatural stuff is going on. And even the demons go away when we tell them to go away. And then he puts his powers on 70. And they go out without him. But they've got his supernatural powers. Wow. And they come back and they say, wow, even the demons run away. And he says, look, don't get excited about your powers. Don't get excited about your powers. Just be happy that God approves of you and is giving you the ability to show supernatural powers. Many people are excited about their powers, and they're even excited about teaching about God and their salvations, but they have forgotten the teachings of Christ that keep people safe and alive. Constantine and the kings of Europe wrecked Jesus' teachings. They wrecked Jesus' teachings. Not all of them, but some of the most important ones that keep you fresh and alive. Come together before communion and admit all of your faults. Before you're baptized, you admit your faults and you renounce bad spirits. Before you pray, when we come together, you admit faults to clean your heart first before you talk to God. When we come together and gather, before we worship, we don't just worship. Before we worship, we check in. Is there any junk in your heart? Is God asking you to do something that you're chickening out on? You have responsibilities. Are you hiding from any of your responsibilities? That's the preparation for communion. I never had that for my entire life. I am suffering because I was anti-God for 40 years because I could tell there was something wrong. I toured the church mess for 24 years, and I discovered that nobody does honesty times. No wonder drug addicts are relapsing and dying. Jesus commanded the apostles that whenever you come together in a home and you close the doors. Only the disciples that are willing to die for Jesus right now should be in this room. You admit your faults, you talk about your callings from the Holy Spirit and the things that you need help with, and you team up and you work together with one another's weaknesses and sins and problems and callings from God. You are a team close together. Most importantly, not 10 families like in Jesus' day. 10 families had to be together for the morning prayer. He says 2 or 3 family men and their families are enough to gather together for me to be present. But 2 or 3 families is the setting for communion. 2 or 3 men who are challenging one another to an excellent lifestyle, best behavior towards the women and the children, sending outreach teams into the world and staying fresh and pure and friends with God. That is ecclesia. That is church. 2 or 3 families together in one place. Now, read Acts 14, verse 21 to 23. Read Acts 14, 21 to 23. They had gathered together a bunch of home churches, and then they're traveling back through them. They travel through the home churches, and they tell them, look, if you're going to stay focused on God and the kingdom and eternity, you're going to go through a bunch of problems and horrible troubles. And then they would sit with the people and ask the Holy Spirit to reveal who is the sweet shepherd of our little neighborhood communion group. Not somebody that's hired, but one of the people that are actually there in the group is selected by the Holy Spirit, because we don't want to have disputes and we don't want to have arguments. So if there's a conflict point, let's toss it over to that one person, the elder, the grandpa part, who's got a mommy heart. Remember, the apostles say, we were gentle among you like a mother. And Jesus says, I wish I could shelter all you crazy people like a mommy shelters her chicks, but you didn't want to, you just ran away. So this mothering attitude has got to be seen in the essence of a pastor. And the problem is most pastors are hired people, hired hands, great teachers, good business people, etc., etc. But a pastor is supposed to be revealed in a home group to just be the person who knows everybody, who knows the area, and who has good discernment for helping people. So, that's the preface to the red letters in the book of Acts. And then I'll make another one. That's number 1.